My daughter woke up screaming. They set me on fire in the other life. The smell of smoke wasn't real, but it filled Jennifer Walsh's nostrils anyway, as her 3-year-old daughter's screams tore through the quiet, suburban night. Lily sat bolt upright in her toddler bed, her small body drenched in sweat, her eyes wide with terror as she clawed at her pajamas. "The fire! The fire is burning me!" she shrieked, her voice raw with a pain that seemed to come from somewhere far deeper than a nightmare. "They tied my hands. I can't run away. Please don't let them burn me." But what happened next would haunt Jennifer for months to come. As she rushed to comfort her daughter, Lily looked directly at her with eyes that seemed far too old for her 3-year-old face, and said in a voice that was eerily calm, "Mama, in my other life, they thought I was a witch. They tied me to a wooden post and set me on fire because I could make the flowers grow better than other people. My name was Sarah then, and I was only 16 when they killed me." The night everything changed, Jennifer Walsh had always been a light sleeper, but nothing could have prepared her for the sound that woke her at 2:47 a.m. on that October night. It wasn't just crying. It was the kind of primal, terrified screaming that spoke of genuine trauma, the sound of someone experiencing unimaginable pain and fear. She found Lily sitting in the middle of her bed, her small hands pressed against her chest, gasping as if she couldn't breathe. The little girl's pajamas were soaked with perspiration, and she was trembling violently. But most disturbing of all were her eyes wide, unfocused, staring at something that wasn't there. "Lily, baby, it's okay," Jennifer whispered, reaching for her daughter. "You're safe. It was just a bad dream." But Lily recoiled from her touch, still trapped in whatever horror she was experiencing. "The smoke is in my nose," she whimpered. "It hurts to breathe. The fire is so hot, Mama. Why won't they let me go?" Jennifer had dealt with nightmares before. Lily was an imaginative child who sometimes had vivid dreams about monsters or getting lost. But this was different. The level of terror, the specific details, the way Lily seemed to be experiencing physical pain from something that wasn't happening. It was unlike anything Jennifer had ever witnessed. "Lily, look at me," Jennifer said firmly, gently taking her daughter's face in her hands. "You're in your bedroom. You're safe. There's no fire." Slowly, Lily's eyes focused on her mother's face. The terror began to fade, replaced by confusion and a deep sadness that seemed far too mature for a 3-year-old. "Mama," she said quietly, "why did they hurt Sarah? She was just trying to help the plants grow. She wasn't bad." Jennifer felt a chill run down her spine. "Who is Sarah, sweetheart?" "Sarah is me, but from before I was Lily. She lived in a place with no cars, and people wore long dresses all the time. She could make sick plants get better just by touching them. But the mean people said that was devil magic. So they burned her up." A matter-of-fact way Lily spoke about such horrific events made Jennifer's stomach turn. This wasn't the rambling imagination of a toddler. It was a coherent, detailed account of what sounded like a historical witch trial. The pattern emerges. That first night was just the beginning. Over the following weeks, the nightmares became a regular occurrence, always following the same pattern. Lily would wake up screaming about fire, about being tied up, about smoke and pain and people calling her evil. And always she would speak about Sarah as if she were a real person she had known intimately. The details Lily provided were remarkably consistent and sophisticated for a 3-year-old. She described a village with thatched roof houses, a marketplace, where people sold vegetables and cloth, and a church with a tall wooden cross. She spoke of wearing a long brown dress with a white apron, of living with her grandmother after her parents died of the sickness, and of having a special ability to heal plants and sometimes even small animals. Sarah could put her hands on a dying flower, and it would stand up straight and get pretty colors again. Lily explained one morning over breakfast, as casually as she might discuss her favorite cartoon. But the church people said only God could do that, so Sarah must be working with the devil. They said she was a witch. Jennifer, a marketing executive with a master's degree in business, found herself in completely uncharted territory. She had always been rational, practical, focused on facts and logic. The idea that her 3-year-old daughter might somehow be remembering a past life, especially one that ended in such a traumatic way, challenged everything she believed about reality. Her husband, Mark, a software engineer, was even more skeptical. "She's probably picking this up from something she saw on TV," he insisted. "Maybe she caught part of a movie about witches, or heard someone talking about Halloween." But Jennifer monitored Lily's media consumption carefully. Their daughter watched only age-appropriate educational programs and cartoons. There was nothing in her environment that could have planted such vivid, historically accurate images in her mind. More disturbing still, Lily began displaying behaviors that seemed connected to her memories of Sarah. She developed an intense fear of candles, matches, and even the fireplace in their living room. The sight of flames would send her into a panic, causing her to scream and hide behind furniture. She also began showing an unusual affinity for plants. Their small garden had always struggled in the harsh Arizona climate, but wherever Lily touched the soil, flowers seemed to bloom more vibrantly. She would sit among the plants for hours, gently stroking leaves and whispering to them in a language Jennifer didn't recognize. Seeking answers, desperate for answers, Jennifer made an appointment with Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a child psychologist who specialized in trauma and unusual behavioral patterns. She was careful not to mention the past life aspects of Lily's claims, instead focusing on the nightmares and fear of fire. Dr. Martinez spent several sessions with Lily, using play therapy and art therapy to help her express her fears. What she discovered left her as puzzled as Lily's parents. Lily is exhibiting signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, Dr. Martinez explained to Jennifer and Mark after her 3rd session with their daughter. But the trauma she's describing, being burned alive, is not something she could have experienced in her current life. Yet her emotional responses are completely genuine. She's not making this up or seeking attention. She truly believes she experienced these events. "What does that mean?" Jennifer asked. "Honestly, I'm not sure. In 20 years of practice, I've seen children process trauma in many different ways, but I've never encountered a case where a child has such detailed, consistent memories of events that couldn't have happened to them." The historical accuracy of her descriptions is particularly puzzling. Dr. Martinez had done her own research after Lily's first session, looking into historical accounts of witch trials. What she found was disturbing in its accuracy to Lily's descriptions. The details your daughter provides, the methods of execution, the social dynamics, even the types of accusations made against accused witches, they're all historically accurate. For witch trials that occurred in colonial America and Europe between the 15th and 17th centuries, a 3-year-old shouldn't have access to this kind of information. The psychologist recommended continuing therapy to help Lily process her fears, but she also suggested something unexpected. "Have you considered researching the historical claims she's making? Sometimes understanding the source of a child's fixation can help us address the underlying anxiety." Jennifer almost laughed. If only Dr. Martinez knew how much research she'd already begun doing. The historical investigation late at night, after Lily was asleep, Jennifer found herself diving deep into historical records of witch trials. What she discovered made her question everything she thought she knew about her daughter's nightmares. The witch trials of the 16th and 17th centuries had indeed followed patterns remarkably similar to what Lily described. Accused witches were often young women who displayed unusual abilities, sometimes as simple as having a green thumb with plants or an intuitive understanding of herbal remedies. They were frequently orphans or women without male protection, making them easy targets for communities looking for scapegoats. During times of hardship, the execution methods Lilly described were historically accurate as well. Accused witches in many parts of Europe and colonial America were indeed tied to wooden posts and burned alive, often in public ceremonies designed to serve as warnings to others who might be tempted to practice devil magic. But it was what Jennifer found in the archives of the Salem Witch Museum that made her hands shake as she stared at her computer screen. Among the lesser-known victims of the witch trials was a young woman named Sarah Whitmore, aged 16, who had been executed. In 1672, in a small village outside of Salem, Massachusetts. The charges against her included unnatural influence over growing things and healing plants and animals through devil magic. The trial records, preserved in the museum's digital archives, described Sarah as an orphan who lived with her grandmother and was known throughout the village for her ability to make failing crops flourish and dying animals recover. Witnesses testified that she could lay hands upon a withered plant and cause it to bloom as if by supernatural power. The records also noted that Sarah had maintained her innocence until the end, insisting that her abilities were a gift from God, not the devil. She had been burned at the stake on October 13, 1672, exactly 351 years to the day before Lily's first nightmare about the fire. Jennifer stared at the screen, her heart pounding. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Sarah Whitmore had been the same age as the girl in Lily's memories. She had lived in a village that matched Lily's descriptions. She had been accused of the same crimes that Lily described, and she had died in exactly the way Lily remembered. But most unsettling of all was the portrait that accompanied the historical record. It was a crude sketch made during Sarah's trial, but the face it showed bore an unmistakable resemblance to Lily. The same large eyes, the same delicate features, even the same stubborn set to the jaw. The revelation that night, Jennifer sat beside Lily's bed, watching her daughter sleep peacefully for once. When Lily woke up the next morning, Jennifer decided to share what she had discovered. "Lily," she said gently, "I found some information about Sarah. Would you like to hear about it?" Lily's eyes lit up with interest. "You found Sarah? Is she okay now?" Jennifer showed her daughter the historical records, carefully explaining what they meant. Lily studied the portrait of Sarah Whitmore with intense concentration. "That's her," she said simply. "That's what I looked like when I was Sarah, but I'm prettier now as Lily, don't you think?" The casual way Lily accepted the information, as if Jennifer had simply confirmed something she already knew, was both touching and unsettling. "Lily, do you remember what happened to Sarah after the fire?" Lily nodded solemnly. Sarah was very scared when the fire started, but then it stopped hurting, and she felt like she was floating up above everything. She could see all the people watching, and she felt sorry for them because they were so afraid of things they didn't understand. She paused, seeming to search for words to express something complex. Then Sarah went to a place that was very bright and peaceful, and there were other people there who had been hurt too, but they weren't hurt anymore. And then I think Sarah decided she wanted to try living again, but in a place where people wouldn't be scared of her gifts. Jennifer felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Is that why you came to be Lily? So Sarah could have another chance?" "I think so," Lily said thoughtfully. "But this time, I'm going to be more careful about showing people what I can do with plants. I don't want them to be scared of me again." The healing process understanding the historical context of Lily's memories marked the beginning of her healing process. Dr. Martinez, initially skeptical of the past life explanation, found herself reconsidering her assumptions as she witnessed the therapeutic impact of acknowledging Lily's experiences as real rather than dismissing them as fantasy. Whether we can explain the mechanism or not, Dr. Martinez told Jennifer and Mark, treating Lily's memories as valid experiences rather than delusions has had a profound positive effect on her psychological well-being. The nightmares have decreased significantly since we began addressing them as traumatic memories rather than irrational fears. The therapy sessions began focusing on helping Lily separate her current identity from Sarah's traumatic experiences. Through art therapy, role-playing, and gentle conversation, Lily learned to understand that while Sarah's memories were part of her, they didn't have to control her current life. Sarah was very brave, Lily told Dr. Martinez during one session. Even when people were mean to her, she still tried to help their plants grow. But she lived in a time when people didn't understand that some people are just born with special gifts. Now I live in a time when people are smarter, so I don't have to be as scared. The nightmares gradually became less frequent and less intense. Instead of waking up screaming about fire, Lily would sometimes wake up sad, mourning for Sarah and the injustice of her death. But these episodes were easier to comfort, and Lily seemed to be processing the trauma in a healthier way. Living with the gift as Lily grew older, her unusual connection to plants became more pronounced rather than less. The family's garden flourished under her care in ways that defied the harsh desert climate. Neighbors began asking for her help. With their struggling plants, amazed by her intuitive understanding of what each plant needed, Jennifer and Mark learned to embrace their daughter's gift rather than fear it. They researched botanical therapy and horticulture, helping Lily understand her abilities in scientific as well as intuitive terms. They wanted her to feel proud of her talents rather than afraid of them. We're teaching her that her gift is something beautiful and natural, Jennifer explained to Dr. Martinez. We want her to understand that the people who hurt Sarah were wrong, that being able to help living things grow and heal is a wonderful ability, not something evil or frightening. Lily began volunteering at a local community garden where her enthusiasm and natural talent inspired both children and adults. She started a small business selling plants she had nurtured back to health, donating the proceeds to environmental charities. Most importantly, she learned to talk about Sarah with compassion rather than terror. Sarah was just trying to help, she would say when discussing her past life memories. She didn't deserve what happened to her. But her story helps me understand how lucky I am to live now, when people aren't so scared of things that are different. The broader impact word of Lily's story spread through their community and eventually reached researchers who study children's past life memories. Dr. Ian Stevenson's successor at the University of Virginia, Dr. Jim Tucker, came to interview Lily and document her case. This is a particularly compelling example of what we call a past life memory case, Dr. Tucker explained to the family. The historical verifiability of the details, the emotional consistency, and the therapeutic resolution all make this a significant case for our research. He documented over 150 specific claims Lily had made about Sarah's life, 127 of which could be independently verified through historical records. The accuracy rate was remarkable, especially considering Lily's young age when the memories first emerged. Whether we understand the mechanism or not, Dr. Tucker concluded, something extraordinary has occurred here. This child has access to historical information and emotional experiences that conventional psychology cannot explain. But perhaps more importantly, the family has found a way to transform what could have been a traumatic situation into an opportunity for healing and growth. The transformation today, Lily is a confident 7-year-old who loves gardening, reading, and helping others. She still remembers being Sarah, but those memories have become integrated into her identity as Lily rather than dominating it. She speaks of Sarah with the same fondness she might have for a beloved grandmother, someone whose story is part of her own, but whose pain no longer haunts her dreams. The Walsh family has become advocates for other families dealing with children's past life memories. They've connected with support groups and researchers, sharing their experience and offering comfort to parents who find themselves in similar situations. The most important thing we learned, Jennifer reflects, is that dismissing Lily's experiences would have been harmful to her. By taking her seriously, by researching her claims, and by helping her understand the historical context, we were able to transform a traumatic situation into a healing one. Mark, once the skeptic of the family, has become one of the most vocal advocates for taking children's unusual experiences seriously. I used to think that anything that couldn't be explained scientifically must be imagination or delusion, he says. But watching my daughter heal by having her experiences validated taught me that there are some things more important than scientific explanation, like compassion, understanding, and the courage to remain open to possibilities we don't yet understand. The garden of memory, the family's backyard, has been transformed into what Lily calls her memory garden, a space where she grows plants that she says Sarah would have loved. There are herbs that were used for healing in colonial times, flowers that bloom in the colors Sarah remembered, and a small section dedicated to plants that are particularly challenging to grow in the desert climate. This is where I talk to Sarah sometimes, Lily explains to visitors. I tell her about my life as Lily, and I think she's happy that I get to use our gift to help things grow without anyone being scared of me. The garden has become a place of peace and healing for the entire family. It's where they go to process difficult emotions, to celebrate successes, and to remember that beauty can grow from even the most painful experiences. Lily has also started what she calls her Sarah Project, researching other victims of the witch trials and creating a small memorial garden in their honor. They were just people who were different, she explains. They deserve to be remembered for the good things they tried to do, not just for how they died. The ongoing mystery, the case of Lily Walsh and Sarah Whitmore, raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness, memory, and survival after death. How could a 3-year-old child in modern Arizona have detailed memories of a teenage girl who died in colonial Massachusetts over 350 years ago? How could she know historical facts that she had never been taught, or experienced trauma from events that happened centuries before her birth? Science doesn't yet have answers to these questions, but the evidence is compelling. The historical accuracy of Lily's memories, the emotional authenticity of her experiences, and the therapeutic impact of acknowledging rather than dismissing her claims all point to something beyond our current understanding of human consciousness. Perhaps the most important lesson from their story isn't about proving or disproving reincarnation, but about the power of compassion and understanding to transform even the most frightening experiences into opportunities for healing and growth. Dr. Martinez, who has continued to follow Lily's case, reflects on what she's learned. This experience has taught me that sometimes the most therapeutic thing we can do is simply listen, believe, and help a child make sense of their experiences, rather than trying to explain them away. Lily's healing came not from forgetting Sarah's story, but from understanding it and finding meaning in it. The legacy of Sarah Lily's connection to Sarah Whitmore has had ripple effects far beyond her own healing. Her story has brought attention to the historical injustices of the witch trials, helping people understand that many of the victims were simply individuals with natural gifts or knowledge that was misunderstood by their communities. The local historical society has created an exhibit about the witch trials that includes Sarah's story, partly inspired by Lily's memories. The exhibit emphasizes the human cost of fear and superstition, and the importance of protecting those who are different or misunderstood. Lily has become a young advocate for tolerance and understanding. She speaks to school groups about the importance of accepting people who are different, using Sarah's story as an example of what can happen when fear overcomes compassion. Sarah wasn't scary or evil. she tells her audiences. She was just a girl who wanted to help plants and animals feel better. The people who hurt her were scared because they didn't understand her gift. But being different isn't bad. It's what makes the world interesting and beautiful. A new understanding the Walsh family's journey has fundamentally changed their understanding of life, death, and the nature of human consciousness. They've learned that love and memory can transcend even the boundaries of time and death, and that healing is possible even from the most traumatic experiences. Jennifer often reflects on how different their lives might have been if they had dismissed Lily's memories as fantasy or sought to suppress them through medication or behavioral modification. Instead, by approaching the situation with openness and compassion, they were able to transform what could have been a source of ongoing trauma into a foundation for healing and growth. Lily taught us that sometimes the most extraordinary experiences require the simplest responses, Jennifer says. We didn't need to understand the mechanism behind her memories to help her heal from them. We just needed to listen, believe, and love her through the process. The family has also gained a deeper appreciation for the resilience of the human spirit. Sarah Whitmore's story, as tragic as it was, ultimately became a testament to the power of love and understanding to overcome even the darkest chapters of human history. The continuing journey today, Lily continues to thrive as a unique and gifted child who happens to carry the memories of another life. She's learned to balance her connection to Sarah with her identity as Lily, understanding that both are part of who she is without being defined entirely by either. The nightmares are now rare, replaced by dreams of gardens and growth, of healing and hope. When Lily does dream of Sarah, it's usually peaceful dreams of the good times helping plants grow, caring for animals, sharing knowledge with her grandmother. I think Sarah is happy now, Lily says. She knows that her story helped me understand how to use our gift in a good way. And she knows that people remember her not just for how she died, but for how she tried to help others when she was alive. The Walsh family's story reminds us that the human experience contains mysteries far deeper than we often acknowledge. It challenges us to remain open to possibilities that don't fit neatly into our current understanding of reality, and to respond to the extraordinary with compassion rather than fear. Most importantly, it shows us that healing is possible even from the most traumatic experiences, and that love, whether it spans days or centuries, has the power to transform pain into purpose, fear into understanding, and tragedy into hope. If this story has moved you, if it's made you think about the mysteries that surround us every day, or if it's reminded you of the importance of listening to and believing the experiences of those we love, especially the smallest voices that are often the most easily dismissed, please consider subscribing to our channel. We're committed to sharing more stories like this one, stories that explore the beautiful, mysterious, and deeply human experiences that connect us across time, space, and understanding. Your subscription helps us continue bringing these important stories to light, ensuring that voices like Sarah's and Lily's continue to inspire and heal us all.